Hello everyone, happy Tuesday. It has been a while. If you're not on Instagram, I'll kind of get you up to speed as to where I've been and what's been going on in my life before we dive in. But if you are somebody who suffers with hypothyroidism or PCOS, you're probably going to want to stick around. But on Wednesday, 2 weeks ago, I had a gum graft surgery where they basically take hey Alice, hey Amy, they basically take a chunk of skin from the roof of your mouth, so your palate, and then they actually stitched it to my bottom gums, which is why I seem expressionless, but I really can't move my mouth much in the bottom simply because it's all like stitched up. I get my stitches removed tomorrow. Now, a week after surgery, so last Thursday, I was training a client at the gym in the morning, and as soon as I sat up after demonstrating an exercise, my palate literally started just gushing blood and it wouldn't stop. And it was coming out my nose, and it was horrible. So I rushed to the dentist office that's like literally a couple houses down from my house, luckily, and they actually managed to stop the bleed, thank God. But then the trick was they had to get me now to the hospital for blood coagulation medication to stick on the roof of my mouth, and they don't actually carry stuff like that at the dental office. So then they're like, okay, you can't drive, we're gonna have to call you an ambulance. But it's a small community, it's really only like a couple blocks, so it almost seems silly to call an ambulance for, something that is really, like, I wasn't gonna die. Like, as scary as it was, I wasn't gonna die. So the dentist actually drove me, and his assistant kept pressure on the roof of my mouth the whole drive, getting out of the truck, walking into the hospital, and she literally kept her fingers in the roof of my mouth to keep everything under control. They administered the coagulation medication, and then my sister had to transport me to Regina to see my surgeon so that they could figure out what the hell happened, because there was a few things that they may have had to do. One of them was going to be to cauterize the roof of my mouth, which really sounds like a big hell no for me. It doesn't sound fun at all. And then there was another option where they maybe would have had to stitch the roof of my mouth, but after he took a look, it appeared that everything actually was okay. If you are scheduled for a gum graft surgery, I do not want to scare you. He had informed me that out of 5,000 surgeries, only 15 patients actually have something like this happen, and every single person that has had this happen is a female between the ages of 24 and 31, and they are like of a smaller frame. So I fit the stereotype perfectly and just happened to be one of the lucky 15. But now I'm back. I get my stitches removed tomorrow. I'm really hoping that I get cleared to actually exercise again and do the things that I love. But because I'm feeling better, I decided to hop on live because I am supposed to be doing this weekly, but for the last 2 weeks, I just could not. My mouth, it did not move at all before. It was extremely swollen, and I basically just would make like noises and use hand signals when I was communicating with Cody. So I would have been no good to you on live. But today I actually wanted to dive into something that is actually related to the procedure I had done. So, of course, with any procedure, they always send you home with patient aftercare instructions. And I really, really wanted to share this with you guys because part of me wishes that almost every medical profession would send the same type of aftercare as what I received. So, of course, I had very firm guidelines on what I'm allowed to eat with this situation. So, for the first 3 to 7 days, it says, fluids only, and things like pudding, yogurt, smoothies, no straws, all of that stuff. And then eventually I graduate, which is where I'm at this stage now, to soft foods like eggs and pasta and noodles, and I'm going to try a muffin tomorrow, but it has to be soft things. So I'm not allowed to eat anything crunchy or sticky or hot for the next 6 to 8 weeks. So when I make my eggs, I have to sit there and wait for them to get cold. When I make my pasta, same deal, but honestly, I'm just happy to be eating food that's not fluid. Now, all these instructions are very specific. They list examples of what I should be eating, the temperatures, all of that. But what really stood out to me the most is at the very top of the eating section of these aftercare instructions. It's in bold letters and it has stars around it, and it comes before the instructions of what I'm supposed to eat, and it states, a well-balanced diet is essential for proper healing. Do not use this period as a time to diet. And I was like, boom, I wish that every freaking medical professional would add that to their aftercare instructions, because when you are recovering from an illness, when you're recovering from a surgery, that is a trauma to your body. And your body's working really hard to repair tissue, to get you well again. And I know that a lot of people are tempted to use dental stuff as a way to lose weight because you really are limited. But the thing is, when you do that, you can't heal properly. And it's kind of the same thing when you're diagnosed with hypothyroidism or PCOS. If you've been diagnosed with chronic fatigue or anything like that, if you've seen a naturopath and they've diagnosed you with adrenal fatigue, your body is fighting against that force for you to keep you well. And what's really, really unfortunate is a lot of medical professionals will actually try to fix you with a very rigid diet. And like when I discuss hypothyroidism and PCOS, those are hormonal disorders. So do you really think going on a diet and being put on a restrictive program is going to do you any favors in helping balance your hormones? Of course not. That's why when we are struggling with, PCOS, hypothyroidism, if we feel that our metabolism has slowed down, when we're struggling with those kinds of things, a lot of times we're prescribed by professionals a diet of some kind or an exercise routine of some kind. And PCOS comes with a lot of stigma. Often, if you are overweight without doing any testing, they will tell you that you have PCOS. And then they put you on a crazy regimen. But the thing is, that actually makes the symptoms that you're experiencing so much worse. I don't know if I've even shared this publicly, but in 2019, I was under so much stress. I was overworking, which was my fault because I worked for myself. And then I had a whole bunch of relationship stress, ended up ending a 10-year relationship and moving, and all of that stress accumulated. And in that time period, I was under such chronic stress that I literally had a period every day for 8 months. The absolute last thing that I should have been told is to go on a diet. And in fact, in order for me to actually heal, I had to start eliminating all stressors in my life. And that included cutting back at the gym, changing the way that I train at the gym, getting rid of caffeine because it was really hard on my nervous system. When you're stressed or chronically fatigued and you're constantly feeding yourself caffeine, guess what? Your body is fighting for you, and you're just dumping gasoline on that fire that is your symptoms. And so a lot of times we'll be prescribed dietary means of trying to control the symptoms of some of these conditions. For example, a lot of times weight gain occurs with PCOS, Same thing with hypothyroidism. And a lot of times we're prescribed a really strict regimen to take care of those symptoms, when in reality we're fighting against ourselves because our body can't help us now. We haven't even given our body a fighting chance to overcome some of these things simply because we're deprived of nutrients. So if you are in this place where you feel like your hormones might be a little fucked up, a good indicator would be if you're tired all the time, if you feel very overwhelmed, when you feel like things really shouldn't stress you out that bad, but it's just overwhelming. If you have dry hair, you're losing your hair, if you feel, like your mood kind of swings on a pendulum, those are pretty good indications that there might be something hormonal going on. And so you need to actually do the opposite of dieting. You need to start nourishing yourself without pursuing weight loss, because again, weight loss is a fight against your biology. But if your body is already up against another fight, like a chronic condition, you're just making the symptoms worse. And it's super disappointing to see people with these types of conditions getting prescribed really restrictive protocols when it comes to dieting. And, I was reluctant to go to a naturopath for so long simply because I had that knowledge, and I had constantly seen naturopaths over and over again just spitting out a food list of what you're allowed to have, and anything that wasn't on the list was not allowed. And I was like, I'm not subscribing to that. I know I probably need a naturopath, but I know that being on a restrictive diet isn't for me. And lucky for me, I was able to find a naturopath who does believe in intuitive eating and health at every size. And she was able to pull me out of my adrenal fatigue without pumping me full of supplements and putting me on some stupid diet. It actually required a lot of different lifestyle changes, turning my phone off at a certain time of day, not exercising in the evening because it made me feel worse, doing it in the morning. I had to change a lot of things that had absolutely nothing to do with my food. So if you've been clinically diagnosed with PCOS or hypothyroidism, or you feel that maybe you are suffering from some hormonal issues, if you are going through menopause, if you've just had a baby and your hormones are trying to return to their normal balance again, the last thing that you should be doing is going on a diet, because your body's already trying to find a balance to best take care of you. So you really need to be an ally instead of an enemy. And that's going to mean nourishing yourself fully without sitting in the back of your mind, oh, I need to lose weight because my hormones are fucked and I'm starting to put on weight, or it comes off really slow for me. So the very last thing that you should be doing is going on a diet right now. You need to basically double down on nourishment and really start operating from like a guardian standpoint. So accessing your inner caretaker. Like, how would you take care of a child if they told you that they were really tired all the time, or that they felt cold all the time, or that their moods were going up and down? You would do your best to take care of that child and nurture it. And you should do the very same for yourself and your body, because your body's gotten you this far and it's fighting for you. Don't add another battle to your plate. Your body has enough going on, and you need to support it the best that you can. If you are catching the replay, oh, my mom's watching. Hello. As you can see, I'm doing better. Stitches come out tomorrow. If you're watching the replay and you do think that you have some hormonal stuff going on, shoot me a message. I have had my fair share of hormonal struggles. Any health crisis or complication I've ever had has been hormonally related. So I know how to, come out of that. So definitely shoot me a message if you have hypothyroidism or PCOS and you've been pushing yourself really hard, or you've been told by a medical professional to do that, I'd love to hear about it, because it is way more common than you would think. Aw. It feels so good to be back. Hopefully I'll be at full capacity after tomorrow once I get these stitches removed. But anyways, thank you guys for hopping on and spending Tuesday night with me. Now that I'm feeling better, this will be a weekly thing. But I just wanted to share, because I know that sometimes we're prescribed the wrong thing when it comes to taking care of ourselves. And I do think that often female hormonal issues are overlooked, unfortunately, by our medical system. And it's almost like hot potato, like, ugh, pass it off to somebody else. I don't want this to be my problem. So we basically just get referred from practitioner to practitioner without any answers ever. So if you have PCOS or hypothyroid, I see you. I understand your pain. And it's very frustrating to get answers from our public health system, unfortunately. But if you're watching the replay, I would love to hear any comments. If you have those conditions, let me know. And hopefully I will see you guys either next Tuesday or next Wednesday. If you have any questions, always just fire me a message. And generally, the topics that I discuss are usually things that I've heard just in the comments within this group, or with questions that I get messaged privately on Facebook and Instagram. So you guys and your questions, that is exactly where I get my topic ideas from. So always reach out, don't be a stranger. That's why I'm here. And it honestly is helpful for me to know what you're struggling with, because then I can make sure that what I am producing for you guys is relevant to your guys' situation. So have a great Tuesday. Thank you for spending this evening with me.